Hello and welcome to The Agenda with me, Graham Hughes, and, as always, Phil Moorhouse of A Different Bias fame. How's it going, Phil?
All right, I think we are. We're streaming. It's
Oh, well,
live.
that's a bonus. That's a bonus. Big shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Simon Smith in there. We've got Martin MZ as well, and Diz. If you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button, wait for approximately 60 seconds, and you should be able to join in on the subscribers only mode on the agenda here. So, Phil, how's it going? How are you this
I'm all right.
fine afternoon? Did you listen to or see the highlights or hear the highlights of the interview that Andy Burnham did yesterday on LBC with Andrew Marr?
I've read a few bits. That's it.
Okay, so he is talking. So we need to talk a little bit about what Andy Burnham looks like he's going to do. He really pushed the devolution thing massively. What do you think that Andy Burnham's prime ministership is going to look like? He's talking about bringing people in from other parties to discuss policy and things like that. What is it going to be very different? Because we get these prime ministers, and every time it's like a reset, and they want to do a new type of politics. Do you think this is actually going to change things, or do you think it's going to be more
the
the
devolution one is tricky because, in actual fact, his what he wants to achieve on devolution is exactly the same as Keir Starmer wanted to achieve, and okay, he put some things in place, but it's hardly been revolutionary. So again, like, why ultimately did Keir Starmer not succeed in doing this? Was it because it could have been one of three things, and I honestly don't know which is the answer. Was it because it turned out it was actually bloody difficult once you tried to do it?
Yeah.
Was it because he got sidetracked with Donald Trump starting fires everywhere? Or was it because the advisors around him in number 10, and we know this is the case with a few things, decided it wasn't something they were terribly keen on, and so they persuaded him to massively water it down? I don't know. There are many more interesting things that Andy Byrne has been talking about doing than the devolution thing. I am a big supporter of the devolution side of it, but I don't know how easy it is fundamentally to do, because you're basically telling lots of people around the country to do things differently. What if they don't want to? What if there's resistance? And also, again, it's like, okay, he wants to massively cede powers away from Westminster. And there's lots of advantages to doing that.
Yeah.
And for Westminster as well. But then he also wants to address the cost of living crisis with something really quite quickly. He also wants to look at, stronger public ownership, or deprivatization, as he calls it, to give himself the options.
Yeah.
On water and energy in particular. He wants to do something on housing. He wants to do something on social care. And you look at all of these things, and all of these are big jobs.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, he's going to get bogged down here. He's going in, he might be going in just like a really excited little puppy, and then finding shit, and then realizing if he wants to get anything done, he's going to have to focus a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we may find, with the best of intentions, he ends up, I'm not trying to be like, cynical here, but he may well find that in order to give to get these things done, it needs his personal kick up the arse on an almost daily basis, which limits how many of these things he can do.
Do you think that the way the newspapers are already attacking him, do you think he's going to follow through on his tax proposals? Because he's talking about not bumping up national insurance, not bumping up income tax, but going after...
Sticking to the manifesto.
Yeah, and he's talking about a land value tax. Do you think that's something that could come in before the next election? And
so I keep saying, so land value tax, in its in the term in which it makes sense, doesn't make sense at the moment. But a land tax of some kind, as long as he doesn't try and get the whole thing ready, as long as he just says we can just do this a bit at a time.
Yeah.
And you pick your that's what you should do actually on all of these things. Pick the low hanging fruit. So on land tax, So, all right, for example, I was talking about this in my stream earlier. So we already know he's talked approvingly of something I have been talking about for some time, which is nobbling empty properties. So if you think about the high street, so let's say you've got landlord, they own several properties, but they're only renting two of them out. They've got four, say they're renting two of them out. They won't rent the other two out because no one will pay the rents they're demanding. Well, in my case, I should say, well, there's several ways of making sure they do, but and I've got a couple of solutions, but one of them would definitely be to look at it as the government. If I was the chancellor, I would say, hang on, that property, if it had a business operating from it, they would be selling things. So people would be paying VAT on them. So that's money to the treasury. They would be making profit. So they'll pay business rates and things. So that's money going, to the treasury or local council, whatever. But it's money going to public coffers. They might be employing people. So then there's income tax, national insurance, stuff like that. So basically, if there's a viable business operating from that premises, there's taxes being generated. Whereas if you keep it empty, there's no taxes being generated other than the things they have to pay, council type things. And I would say you're screwing the treasury out of it so you can pay us compensation. And I would charge a whack high, and I mean a punitively high tax on an empty property.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it used to be the case you only had to pay half council tax if your property was derelict. Where's the incentive?
So, opposite way around. Should be the opposite way around. Higher. So for residential properties, same thing. If it's empty, like, why is it empty? Okay, there's a couple of little neat things. But why, if it's empty because you can't be asked to rent it out, then again, you can pay we have punitive taxes. We have punitive taxes for like tobacco and alcohol and things, which is perfectly acceptable, politically acceptable, because it's like, this is harmful behavior. It's not so harmful that we'll make it illegal, but we want to discourage it. So we'll discourage it with higher and higher taxes. Do the same for wasted land. Call it the wasted land tax.
Yeah. So one of the other things he's talked about is bringing down business rates in city centres and then whacking them up on warehouses outside the cities, which I think that'd be quite popular with people.
It would definitely be popular. It's a really good thing to do right now because he'll put the emphasis on pubs. He's already doing that.
Yeah, he is.
Obviously, he cannot know at the moment because the treasury would have to work this out. It's all right saying you're going to whack up taxes on warehousing, out of town warehouses and stuff, and reduce them for small businesses in like town centres. And everyone goes, well, that's great, isn't it? You're like, you take from there and you make it from there. So you're not having to find extra money somewhere else. But you don't know that the numbers of one add up to the numbers of the other. And he won't know that until he's got his new chancellor to get the treasury to work it out. But yeah, in general, I think that is the way to approach it. And it would be popular. You're dead right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there was a lot covered in that interview actually, and he really presented his case of like where he's going to go differently. And I know you're saying about devolution might be a bit difficult, but he has plans to go ahead. Now, I thought what was interesting is there was an interview with Morgan McSweeney that was published on the BBC website today, where he said exactly what we've been saying since Labour got in. Is just they didn't seem to have a plan. And apparently they didn't have a plan for what to do whilst in government.
That's not it. They did. It's not that they didn't have a they weren't ready for government is what I would agree with. They did have a plan. But everyone has a plan. But, as a certain famous American general said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. And I was saying this in my stream earlier. If you think about various things, right, there were mitigating circumstances. Some of them were self-inflicted, but some of them were not. Like, for example, ahead of a general election, the government, it seems to have paused on my thing. Maybe I've paused it. Have I? I have. It's my fault. The government are supposed to let the opposition, the ones who might take over, in to talk to civil servants, talk to Whitehall, so that they can test their ideas out, so that if they win the election, they're ready to go. Rishi Sunak refused to do that. On so many levels, he just salted the earth. He only allowed Starmer to send a team in to talk to civil servants literally a few weeks before he called the election. So, and it's supposed to be months ahead. He should have done it at the start of 2024, and he didn't. So from that point of view, and that's understandable. Then there's other things as well. Now, when like if you can't say Labour had 14 years to work this out, because of course they didn't. Because the first 5 of those years they had Ed Miliband in charge, who had a particular agenda, and he went with that. Then for another few years they had Jeremy Corbyn, who had a different one. So like nothing was built on from Ed Miliband. And then when Keir Starmer came in, again he took a different direction entirely as well. So nothing that Corbyn did was built on. So like no, he had a few years, and the first year was COVID. The second year was hard Brexit. The third year was Ukrainian invasion, like Russia invading Ukraine.
Yeah.
Like, so plans constantly had to change. There were major geopolitical events taking place that constantly tripped up his plans. And also there were some things which you could say in hindsight were a bit of a waste, but I would have supported. Like he had this plan really quite close to the election to have ministers who would sit across departments. Because the problem is, like Wes Streeting has said for years, for example, that, you think about things like poor quality housing, not enough jobs, like all sorts of things that affect people's health. And he said, well, that's an issue for the NHS.
Yeah.
So you need this policy thinking that crosses departments, and that's not the way government departments work. Each government department focuses on its own priorities, where, so he was going to have this plan of having ministers that would have these like overarching policies that sit and coordinate with different departments, but that didn't happen. And probably the reason it didn't happen is because they thought, the Whitehall was too unwieldy.
Yeah.
That first what you need to do is reform Whitehall before you can do something like that. And then they didn't have a plan for that, because the one person who might have been able to help them do it, they decided to sack early on. And that's on McSweeney. He's the one who pushed for Sue Gray's exit. So I think it's fair to say they weren't ready for government, but I don't think it's fair to say they didn't have a plan. It's just they didn't have a plan that worked. I mean, but that is the difference. Like lots of people can come up with a plan. Andy Burnham's, you talk about he's got a plan for it. We don't know he has. We don't know it's a plan that will work until he tries to put it in operation.
Yeah.
There's like honestly, there's 2 phrases that in this context, it's like, there's patterns, no plan survives contact with the enemy. And then on a slightly like different, but it's the same meaning, Mike Tyson's, everyone's got a plan until they get hit. You don't know you've got a plan until it's put to the test.
Yeah. Well, you know you got a plan. It's just you don't know how
exactly.
How
so you have a
effective
plan.
It's going to be.
It may not work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, what him saying that, Morgan McSweeney saying that and admitting that was a bit of a surprise. But it being the case didn't come as much as a surprise. It really felt like that was the way it was. Ryan says, "Good afternoon, everyone. I think one of Burnham's biggest hurdles will be the Treasury." And yeah, we need to talk about this. So I wanted to mention the newspapers are reporting this extra 4.7 billion that's going to be spent on defence. As they're saying, this is a poison pill that Starmer's leaving, to spite Burnham. Do you think that's the case, or do you think that's just tabloid bullshit?
So it's not for spite, no. Like Keir Starmer has already demonstrated he's not going to trip up his party. He would have fought a leadership contest if he was doing something out of spite. That would be spiteful. Or, it might not be motivated by spite, but it's quite clear Keir Starmer has gone out of his way to make sure he causes as little damage to the country and the party as possible. What's happened is he, from his point of view, he needed more time for the defence plan. Yes, it's overrun, but again, lots of things changed. Yes, it is. I was saying in my stream earlier, the end of his premiership is a mess. It is a right mess, because he came into power inheriting a black hole from the Tories, right, which they deliberately concealed. And for people who go, oh, yeah, it wasn't actually true. Yeah, the OBR said, no, there was a black hole. There is dispute as to exactly how large the black hole is. Labour say 20 billion. Some people say it's a bit less, but it's still there. Starmer has effectively, or he's been able to, for the last 2 years, he and Reeves have been able to say, we have made the figures add up. Absolutely true. Now he's leaving. They don't. There's like 4.5 billion missing. He's pissed off Robert Jenrick. That's good trolling. Do you see that?
No, didn't see that.
Because although he hasn't explained where this extra £4.7 billion come from, he has cancelled a few infrastructure projects, one of which is a road project in Jenrick's neck of the wood. He's not happy. But bants aside, yeah, Starmer is basically, he's been able to say for 2 years that they had this approach of making sure the figures add up and being responsible and stuff. And from his point of view, it'll be because he wasn't given the time, but nonetheless, he's leaving a black hole in place. There is now a black hole in the public finances because he's saying we're going to spend this much on defence, but he hasn't said exactly where all of it's coming from.
Yeah.
So he has left Burnham a problem. It's not out of spite because there are more spiteful things he could have done. It's from his point of view, it's because, well, you know, if you could give me another year, if it had done a Theresa May, give me another year to sort Brexit out, in this case, defence out, and then I'll leave. But that wasn't on the table. So it is what it is. Burnham, at the end of the day, you cannot expect to, like, Burnham has come back to Parliament specifically to take over a government that's seen as not on the right course. You cannot expect things to go smoothly. You've got to expect to find problems. Like Rishi Sunak, when he became Prime Minister, famously, after Liz Truss, he went, because he'd just been Chancellor literally like a matter of weeks beforehand, right? Or months anyway. So he goes in and he finds this massive hole in the budget and he goes, what happened to that? And everyone in the room said, it was your predecessor, Prime Minister. But he did. He said, where the bloody hell did that 30 billion quid go? You've got to expect it. If you come in for what is seen as a rescue job on government,
yeah,
you've got to expect you're going to find some shit to deal with, and he's not found as much shit to deal with as Starmer had to deal with, but nonetheless, he's got to expect these things, and he's going to have a plan for it.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like he sounds like he's going to hit the ground running and spend the whole of the summer going around these constituencies, meeting people, going out and talking to people who, you know, in other parties as well. I don't know if he's going to stretch to the refuckers, but he's certainly intonated that he will talk with the Greens, the Lib Dems, and the Tories, and the SNP and Plaid Cymru about getting, you know, stuff done, and then be seen to be doing that. And that's a good move. And I think about when he was on Question Time during the Makerfield election, and he was a lot less adversarial than the other people on the panel.
Yeah.
And he was a lot more like, we need to talk about the things that we've got in common. And I think this is what the country needs right now, to be honest with you.
Yes and no. So coming across like that is very good, but recent polling makes clear where, looking at Starmer, whereas we're getting wrong. On the Iran war, he's been totally in step with public opinion, completely in step, right? Particularly with, you know, the public opinion of the people who do or might vote Labour.
Yeah.
And yet he got no credit for it at all. And he constantly was pushing it. He was constantly pushing it, and he gets no credit. And some quite detailed polling came out explaining why. And it's simply because he wasn't seen as tribal. It's because people felt he agrees with us on this, but we don't know that he's on our side. People want someone to be on their side. So there is a sense in which it certainly comes. I think it's a case of you've got to have the battles, but you've got to pick your battles.
Yeah.
So no, he can't. He wants to obviously try and come across as a unifying figure, but if he tries to do that, he will come a cropper, because Starmer did. Even if he is more personable, because this polling was making it really clear, people want someone who's on their side. We're not as bad as America for polarization, but, you know, we're getting there.
Yeah.
And, you know, he can't just get people to agree on X, Y, and Z. These different groups need to feel he's on their side. So there's going to be a bit of nuance to it.
Yeah. Are you optimistic? Are you optimistic about this? Because this is what you were talking about earlier in the year. You're saying that Starmer needs to go, and it needs to be quick. You think that the way that the Labour has handled this has been the best that they could possibly do, given the circumstances?
Yeah. Burnham wanted longer. He wanted to come back in like September. He wanted to be Prime Minister in September. That's too long. So that would be a wasted summer. It'd be a lot. That would be chaos. It'd be a wasted summer. There's a lot of shit to deal with. Burnham has now seemed to have made peace with that, and he should. And like, you know, and he should. And I said weeks ago, what he should do is this summer get himself out and about, just go out talking to people, or more specifically listening to people. Just get himself out there. Don't ever, pull up the drawbridge. Keep getting out there, even if things get tough, and things will get tough. Keep getting out there. I like the idea that he's talking about doing something on the cost of living really very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to turn it all around immediately, but like, you know, there was that poll that showed this massive Burnham bounce, but I did say that's not a very good pollster. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it from the credible pollsters. I'm not seeing any evidence of a bounce, but he could get one if he looks like he's not just talking about a game, but actually delivers something that's tangible.
Yeah.
So yeah, something like even the pubs thing is a good one, something like that. There might be more people. I mean, you know, Labour have already done some stuff like in terms of reducing the cost of going out this summer that would have got them a lot of credit if they hadn't already pissed off the public.
Yeah. Res Lawyer's starting to fight here, saying Corbyn was a bit weak on the EU. That's putting it mildly. And he should have fought harder. Other than that, I think he's great. It's a shame what happened to your party. Labour membership halved under Starmer. That says it all. Well, the Labour membership may have gone down, but
it's bullshit.
At the same time, they
the
won a general election.
They didn't go down. What happened was
anymore, though, do they?
No. When Ed Miliband was leader, sort of his, I like Ed Miliband, but it was his fault.
At the ball.
He changed the rules to allow people to just join Labour and vote in a leadership contest for next to nothing, right? So what happened was a shitload of people who aren't Labour joined Labour to vote for Corbyn. Yes. So they weren't Labour members, they were entryists, and they just went, is what happened.
Yeah.
That's
but also,
what happened.
It's not a pressure group. It doesn't matter how many members there are. Do you know what I mean? Are there any members of Refuck? Can you join Refuck? It's a private company, isn't it?
You can now, but you don't get any membership rights.
Yeah. I think any voting, you don't get to choose
the leader. You can turn up to a members meeting, but you can have your say, and then be ignored.
But I kind of you hear these excuses because I just think the previous guy was just an absolutely useless leader. He couldn't get people on board. Everyone was fighting amongst themselves, and you see this with your party. I mean, that is just a really good example of like he just can't lead. And
I'll tell you something else as well. But he also can't be asked with it. One of the things, and everyone in your party is a Corbyn supporter, right? Literally every single one. And the senior members of that group have all been complaining that when they need a decision to be made, he fucks off to the allotment because he can't deal with it. He doesn't want the hassle. Yeah. He can't be dealing with it. He just wants to stand on a stage and he just wants to like rage. He should have just done a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He'd have been much happier.
Yeah. Chris is saying push back on that because Labour membership has dropped by 200,000 over the last 5 years, but it's about what it was in 2015.
It wasn't. Yeah, again, you were talking about entryists who no longer their cult leader pissed off, so they pissed off with it.
Well, there was a lot of right-wing people who joined the party for £3 just to vote for someone they knew couldn't win an election. I don't know
how many of them would have stayed for the duration, though. But yes, I mean, Ed Miliband, I do like him, but he did some bloody stupid things.
He absolutely did.
He did some bloody stupid things.
Do you think he's going to come on as Chancellor, or do you think he's just going to stay in the environment?
I'd prefer him to stay in energy, if I'm honest, because it's all right saying, oh, yeah, but then as Chancellor, he could make sure there's more money for green jobs. And yeah, that's badly needed. But first of all, he's not a miracle worker. How do we know how much money he can get? Secondly, then he's been doing really well at unlocking a lot of renewable projects. He's really put his shoulder behind it.
Yeah.
Who would you appoint that would do the same? Like you might get someone. There's a risk you get someone who's not that arsed about it. There's a risk you get someone who's not that effective at it. I don't know why you would move someone out. Like, he must be the most effective minister that Labour have had in this government.
Yes.
In terms of what he's done. There's been other good ones, but he's been absolutely on it, and understandably so, because this has been his specialist subject for nearly 2 decades now. So he's like the most qualified person to ever take over a government department, probably in recent times.
Yeah.
And he's been absolutely on it. I don't know why you would move him.
No.
Just get a chancellor who can be effective and who's aligned with your views.
Yeah.
Preferably someone who can come across well as well.
They're talking about bringing back David Miliband.
Not as chancellor. Yeah, but I have heard that. Yeah, as foreign secretary maybe or something.
So they make him a lord.
Bringing the old gang back. It's all going to look like the last days of the last Labour government. All these people, and I get from one point of view where he needs people he can trust, and he's going to need someone as foreign secretary he can trust, because he doesn't want to deal with foreign affairs. So he needs someone who can just delegate it all to, or as much as he can to.
The Hiddenite is saying, I think we should keep a PM till the end of the term, or at least a year before they end it. Honestly, Hiddenite, I want to push back on that, because I'm glad we have this system. Otherwise, we'd be stuck with what's the stupid face? The idiot. What's the idiot woman who became Prime Minister for a week? What was her name?
Oh, Liz Truss.
Liz Truss. We'd be stuck with Liz Truss for an entire parliamentary term.
With Boris Johnson.
No matter what. You see this in America, where you have these presidents who are lame ducks. They're absolutely shit. They're out of the, they're not good presidents. Not just Trump, but Trump presidents before. And they see out the end of the term, not doing anything.
Months. It's like 2 months of doing bog all.
Oh yeah, once the elections happened. No, but I'm talking about, like, they have to serve their 4-year term. When they step down, they don't have an election in America. The vice president takes over. Vice president's not available. The Speaker of the House takes over. Oh, come on. Do you know what I mean? It's like they can't.
It means you're basically saying, look at the constitutional shit we would have been in if we'd have had this rule. Because Boris Johnson would have been suspended from Parliament, so we'd have had a prime minister that's not even allowed in fucking Parliament.
Yeah.
That would have been mental. What would we even do about that? So no, you've got to be able to get, like, you're basically saying that, you've got to keep a bad prime minister. That's mental. No, it's actually good that we can actually way more easily than America get rid of a bad secretary. And not, and it's not, it doesn't matter how they're bad, but, if you've got someone who's not doing it, you can get rid of them really quite easily.
I do feel like I mean, it's just a perception, isn't it? Because they have a presidential system over in America. We hear a lot about that. And they directly, well, kind of indirectly, because they have the electoral college, don't they? But they directly elect the person in charge. So their prime minister, their president, whatever.
They get to pretend they do.
Yeah, at least. Whereas we don't do that in this country. We elect a party. And the party stands on its manifesto, and it doesn't really. We don't get any say on who gets to be foreign secretary, who gets to be home secretary, who gets to be chancellor. We don't get a say on any of that shit. No. Why should it be any different for the leader of the party if someone's not doing the job that they feel like they should be doing to take them into the next election, and not winning people over? And Burnham last night on the Andrew Marr show, he reiterated the fact that he's sticking to the 2024 manifesto. So that's the election that we were elected on. Yeah. And I'm not going to stray too much from that, but there is some wiggle room. And he mentioned about taxing these not factories, warehouses on the edge of town, all that kind of stuff. And like, you're listening to it going, yeah, fucking do it. I mean, if he gets...
There's loads of wiggle room. They made very few promises on tax.
Yeah.
Really very few. Well, unfortunately, the promises they did make were on the big taxes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, even income tax, actually, like I said at the time, the manifesto, if he so desired, and it seemed sensible, it may or may not be, I mean, Scotland have done it, he could introduce an extra higher rate of income tax. That would be perfectly in keeping, because the manifesto didn't promise not to increase income tax. It promised not to increase the rate of the named bands of income tax.
Yeah.
So he could create an upper tier that's for people who earn over, say, I don't know, £500,000 a year at like 49% or something. Perfectly in keeping with the manifesto. You could do that. So there is lots of wiggle room on taxes. There's loads of things you can do. There's loads of things Rachel Reeves did that were not specifically promised.
Yeah.
Loads of changes to the tax system she did that weren't specifically in the manifesto, because they only ruled out increases. They did actually talk about increasing some tax. It's not that they didn't. There were lots of examples of tax rises in the manifesto.
Yeah.
But there were only 3 types of tax that they specifically said they wouldn't increase. And even then, there was some tricksy language on it.
Trixie Hobbitzers. Hey, listen, we just got a super chat come in from JC77701. Thank you very much, JC, for that. A few more heat domes, which will strengthen next year as this El Nino takes effect, may nudge the public away from the drill baby drill idiocy. Tice but Dim can shove his stupid net zero.
No, I'm afraid not. So the public are already, in fact, like, it comes down, everything comes down to cost of living. The way to deal with it is to get the cost of living down. Everything is that. Honestly, I've got polling. I've been given it. Very, very comprehensive Europe-wide polling. It includes polling in the UK that shows that the vast majority of people, we even know the majority of Reform UK supporters support climate action. But then when you ask, again, salience is so important. When you ask them how much they're prepared to pay for it, not very much. And ironically, and this is where it gets worse, but it's also understandable. The people, the demographic that you would think is the most in favor of climate action, which is the younger generation, are also the least likely to support climate action if it involves a cost to them. And of course, that is because the young are already the most squeezed of all the age groups. So in actual fact, no, it's a right mess. If you can persuade people, if the right wing can persuade people that doing a thing that is anti-climate action will save them a few quid, they will support it. Don't kid yourself. More heat waves will turn people against it. Really won't. What will turn them against it is getting the cost of living down via more sensible methods.
Yeah. How long? I'm going to have to wrap up soon because I've got to do some stuff for my dad here. But how long do you think that Burnham will have? Do you think he's going to get a honeymoon period? Which,
no.
Starmer, if he did get that, he squandered it. Do you think there will be a honeymoon period at all?
I don't think Starmer got a honeymoon period. I don't think there will be one.
Because I feel like Starmer squandered his first few weeks.
His first few weeks were brilliant. His first few weeks, his poll rating went up.
Yeah.
Labour's went up. It was spectacular. Because what did he do? Straight away he said, we don't need all of that summer. We're going to get to work. He started making appointments. It all looked very positive. It was all brilliant. It was perfect. First few weeks, perfect. Then we had the riots, not his fault. Then we came back from the riots. Oh, the economy, it's fucked, Oh, Jesus, we didn't realise how fucked it was. Oh,
Winter
Jesus,
fuel
we don't know what
allowance
to do about it. And then all of a sudden the poll rating went down. Oh, I wonder what happened there. Yeah. So no, Burnham's going to do the same. He's going to start off really positive, and he'll get. But they're not going to give him any time.
Yeah.
They're not going to give him any time.
Yeah.
So, and I think he knows that because he's talking about doing something really very quickly on the cost of living.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's an awareness that he's not going to be given time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, then. Sorry, this is going to be a short episode because we've got to knock it on the head
just
there.
one thing. Sorry, someone asked something. Bloody, I've got to find it now. It says, Phil, would you support bringing back in the 10% tax rate like we used to have before Osborne scrapped it? The problem is in the current political climate, don't do anything that looks like it's going to squeeze ordinary people. Like what is a good and bad economic policy? Sometimes it can be quite universal, but sometimes it's of its time. So in the here and now, you cannot afford to squeeze people even more. Yeah. That's where Starmer went wrong. Like the winter fuel policy, like it was bollocks. At the end of the day, there wasn't a single pensioner in this country who lost out because they all had more money than the year before, even taking inflation into account.
Yeah.
Right? It was a small amount of money. I'm not saying it should have been done. And yes, there were some people on very low incomes that should never have been taken away from them. But nonetheless, no one was actually worse off, even when taking inflation into account. But it's just that feeling that the government were elected to take the pressure off. Yeah. And they didn't do that. Burnham's come in saying, I know it's my job to take the pressure off. He's actually used that phrase, take the pressure off, ease the pressure.
Yeah.
So he cannot do anything that makes it look like he's squeezing anywhere, which is not going to be an easy gig. But he sounds like he knows that.
Okay, before we go, we've got a couple of super chats come in. So first from Frank, thank you very much. Back from Japan, while in Japan, Friday PM was much better. It was the end of the week for me, talking about the time slot. And JC, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Reform boomers will feel increasingly vulnerable to the cost of dying as the high temperatures do their worst. Well,
they'll be told, oh, cold kills more than heat. They'll be told that. And so they'll just be told, it's warm, get used to it. And they'll say that. Honestly, you've got to meet these people. I have met these people, these old people who just think, I mean, I've known some that if they're ill, they don't want to bother the NHS because they've been told they're a burden to the NHS. Oh, I don't want to bother. I've had my life. They're actually like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't imagine these are all selfish people.
Yeah.
They're not. They've just had their moral compasses thrown off track. It's like the James Bond film, isn't it? Was it that Tomorrow Never Dies, where they used the GPS to send the ship off course? That's what's happened. The Tory media has sent people's moral GPS off course.
Yeah. Andy, I'll give you the last line here. Need to introduce a land tax. The rich might be able to hide their income, but they can't hide their mansions.
Or Hertford, Derbyshire.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks very much, Phil, for joining us. If you want to catch Phil tomorrow night, you're doing a show at 7:00.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
On Phil's live stream. Otherwise, find him on at A Different Bias. And thank you for watching. Thanks for the super chats. Really appreciate that. And sorry about the smaller show today. But we'll be back. I might be back later, but I'll definitely be back tomorrow morning at 9:00 for Morning Brew. So hopefully I'll see you then. And until then, I say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.